everyone. How's it going? Right there. I started the stream once, and my son decided to make the stream difficult. So I fed him. He's asleep now. He's hopefully going to stay asleep, which means we can spend some time here working on the layout. That's what we're going to do. I've collected everything I need, and we are ready to start. So let's take a look at the green. All right. Sorry about that. So last week, I laid down a couple pieces of track, wired up some frogs, and glued everything down. So I'm just going to continue where I left off last week. Got a couple more turnouts that are going to go in, some flux track as well, and see how far we can get before Marble makes this up again. So what I need to do first is kind of measure everything out. It's a little tricky. I'm actually, because I've already wired the leads into my frogs. Can't use that track because I got wires coming out the bottom, so I can't really this flat. So I'm using this guy. I'm flipping it around and everything as I go. What I want to do is get a line on my track work and make sure that everything's going to match up nicely. Grab my measuring stick. And I have been laying this track 2¼ inches. And it's not been lining up like I wanted to, which is pretty frustrating. It's good there. It's good there. So I'm using black marker, and people kind of warn against the use of black markers to do this. So use a pencil with black marker. When you go to lay down your ballast, and you're using your water mixture, your glue, that ballast could soak up the ink and let it rise to the surface. I'm not concerned about it with my railroad because I'm using very dark ballast in this section. And that, along with the fact that this is kind of a yard, so the tracks are oily and not in great condition. I think that leads to that being able to just sort of hide in the soak. All right, so right here, maybe I'll drill my hole for my lead. And right here is where I'm going to create my little divot for, you can see right there, you can see that there's a little spring mechanism that allows you to hand throw these switches. But that hangs out below the track a little bit, so maybe make a little bit of a hole. Turn my computer a little bit so I can see chat if anyone jumps in here. Probably not because I'm starting so late after the false start with the boy. If you don't have one of these Dremels, I highly suggest them. I love the cordless. They're not quite as powerful. And you don't have surprise me adapters for these guys, but it's got a little light on it. It's just perfect for everything. Oh, frog. Pretty good. Pretty good. So let's go ahead and actually, before I go and do that, I need to trim off the last rail on this turnout. So I'm going to do that real quick. Hey guys, how's it going? So yeah, it definitely has a dental quality to it. Thanks for stopping in, check out the stream. Appreciate it. I had music on last time on the last stream, but it did not sound great on playback. So I am foregoing music for now. I don't think speaker quality is good enough to have music going. So you should provide your own music. And maybe if I keep this up in the future, I will upgrade my audio quality for my live streams. I'm using a webcam to my computer. That seems working good. So iPhone streaming may be a thing in the future for me. All right. Let's go ahead and put on our rail joiners before we go much further. Code 70 micro engineering rail joiners. Apparently that's what you need for Code 70 rail. Use an X-Acto knife. Oh, here's a tip, by the way, with the X-Acto knives. I took a small zip tie and tied it around the base of this thing really tight. What's great about that is, have you ever had a X-Acto knife roll off the table and onto your foot? I have. But now with this little zip tie here, oh, can't roll. Cannot roll off the table. No death of the foots with an X-Acto blade like this. So that's a pro tip for you guys. Oh yeah, so why am I removing the ties? So you need to be able to put your rail in place, or your rail joiners in place, I should say. So see how there's a lot of extra tie here, or rail here? Whereas on this turnout that I have not took the last tie off of, that rail comes right up to the edge of the tie. So there's no room to actually put your rail joiners on something like that. If you're familiar with Atlas sectional track, actually I've got some here. So here's some sectional track I use for a programming track. You'll see on their rails, they come up to the end, but focus, camera, focus, there for the rail joiners to insert into. Flex track, you don't have that slot. So what you're left with when you're done, let's see if I can show some. Yeah, right in here, you got a section where you've got your rail joiner, and then a large section without rails, and you have to go back in there and fill that in later on with some rails that you kind of cut off. So like, let me find a section right here. You can see, if the camera focus, where the rails are joined, here, and here. And then I've gone back in later on and glued in place the ties to hide that joint. So that's why you got to do that. It is not Pico. I'm using Micro Engineering turnouts instead of Pico. Couple of reasons for that. Basically, I like the look. Pico has a kind of like there's like a hinge where the I can't remember the diverging rail. I can't remember what that rail type is called, where it diverges off of the points, the point rails. Point rails, is that right? Anyways, there's a little hinge there on the Pico turnouts. I'm not a super fan of looks wise. But also, I wanted to do code 70 rail in the yards and code 83 on the main lines just to give it a little more of a scale look. And so having Micro Engineering offers code 70 rail and turnouts. So that's why I went with Micro Engineering. I like them so far. This is the first layout I've used their turnouts on. They're cheaper than Pico for sure. Not by a lot, but if you're doing it on a sizable layout, it does add up over time. I think I've got 23-ish turnouts in this layout, and even if they're $5 cheaper, I think they're more. I think they're closer to $7 to $10 cheaper. That definitely adds up. I'm going to do a series of tutorial videos on laying track and wiring eventually. I just have to record them. Do it. I want to get a little further along in the process before I do it, just because I want to make absolutely sure that the advice I'm giving in the videos is the best advice. I've laid enough in the past that I feel pretty confident about what I'm doing. But I don't want to tell you one thing and then I have to revise it later. My how-to videos, I try to keep, my plan is for those anyway, I don't have a lot of them yet, but my plan is for those is to really provide like solid information. I hate how-to videos done by people who mean well, but perhaps aren't giving the best advice. So like with my layout construction videos, those are like, if I screw up, I'm going to screw up, I'm going to tell you I screwed up. But for my how-to videos, I want this to be a little more like, you don't need to worry, this is good information. That makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, let's see here. Well, I'm having a little bit of alignment issue. Because I think we'll be all right, actually. Straighten myself out for me. These are old yards, so the track work is not 100% perfect. It's off by a little bit of a millimeter here and there as far as like distance between things. One thing I try to do with my track work is I like to take my time, make sure that I get things right, because one of the most difficult things to do in model railroading is go back and fix bad track work. And bad track work can really make it not have a fun time when it comes to model railroading. There's few things more annoying than running trains and having cars derail constantly, or bump up over bad joints, or come apart, decouple from each other over weird curves. And, it's not prototypical. It's not fun in an operating session. It's a little embarrassing when you go to show other people. So, trying to be very, very careful with my layout so to ensure that the track work goes in smooth. So I'm going very, very slowly with the track work, and I'm going back and I'm redoing track work that I screw up. And it's causing the layout to take a long time to kind of get to a state of full operation. But I would prefer it that way to laying down track quickly and then having issues. I think we've all seen examples on Facebook and other places where people who they're like, I'm having issues with my turnouts, and you see the track work, and it's like, ooh, yikes. Every picture you take on your model railroad is going to be having track work in view, so you want it to look good, you want it to operate good. This layout's going to last me for many, many years, so I don't want to rush it. Maybe there's no reason to rush it. For me, building the layout is just as enjoyable as having a layout that's finished looking and operating and all that. So savoring these build sessions and all that is a great way to go. Okay, I think that's laid out nicely. Now I'm going to do some measuring here. Let me pull the camera back a little bit. Catch up on chat. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Now we got to line up this turnout here. This turnout's going to go down this direction, back that direction. I want to make sure that all my track is lined up nicely on this turnout. Created a little bit of a guide for myself. Every 2 3/4 of an inch, a little piece of tape here to, I'm sorry, 2 1/4 of an inch, a little piece of tape. So that like that, and in here. As far as the distance between things, I'm using 2 1/4. I've seen people say other things. Ooh, that's like one. Some people say 2.5 is the minimum distance you want between. Yard tracks can be even tighter than this. I think in the real world they are much tighter than what we're doing here. I need to be able to reach in between cars, so I'm coupled. So that's perfect, actually. So that is why we are doing it at 2 1/4 here. 2.5, I think a lot of people recommend for curves. I did some measuring in a 2 1/4. I can have enough clearance for double track main line on all my curves for all my cars. However, I don't believe I can get auto racks to clear at 2 1/4. I think you need 2.5 for this to clear, or at least for them to clear comfortably. Which stinks because that means I won't be able to have myself some auto racks on this layout. But the line that I'm modeling does not auto racks right here. So not a big Not a big loss. But in the future, if I wanted to have auto racks, it would be something that I guess I could have auto racks on here and just not run 2 trains at once. Just kind of have it, like, just run one train on the way out. So I wouldn't be able to use them during operating session necessarily, since multiple trains are running at one time on the way out in the operating session. If I just wanted to just run trains and watch trains run, I could have auto rack. I could have an auto rack train. But I don't know that I would spend money. I'm going to trim this a little tighter so I can get this where I want it to be. Without compromises. So turnouts, it's fine to do some trimming. Be careful. I'm not taking too much off of them. But just know that sometimes it requires a little bit of trim just to get it right. I think I'll just take a little bit off that outside bit. And every time I trim, I come back in with a file. And I just take off some of the flash that curves from the trim. And then just make sure it's a little more square. I'm not a square Nazi. I'm not a right angle Nazi on anything that I do here. But I do want to. 2 is definitely the minimum. I think in the real world it's even less than that. In this real non-scale world, I think it's even less than that. Boy. Yeah, I think in the real world, it's less than 2 inches worth between yard tracks, but you got to be able to get in there with your hands and decouple cars. And one of the things that annoys me in operating my layout or anyone else's layout, for that matter, is you start running into difficulties kind of reaching your hands into places to get 2 cars. So just make sure this is squares the edge. Here. Cool. Going quick. final a little bit. Letting the dog out. I see. Thank you for stopping by. If you don't come back, appreciate it. She would hear this, but if you do hear it, thank you so much. Cannot wait to get to the point where I am running trains, operating. I am running trains a little bit. I've got 30, 50, I got about 60-ish feet of run that I can put a train through. Both go to stage in, but I can run some trains. I can watch things move and hear engines and bells and horns and all that kind of stuff. But when I complete my full circuit, let's start building trains. How are you guys doing with self-quarantine? There's some good hobby time in. Actually, I'm kind of keeping an eye on things. It seems that quarantine has been very, very good for the hobby industry. Seems a lot of people have taken up hobbies or rekindled their interest in an old hobby or got started on that project that they've been kind of putting off for a while since they've been in quarantine. And the hobby industry is going crazy nuts. I actually picked up a new hobby, which I'm trying to avoid doing this year, but I do anyway. I wanted a RC rock crawler for a while. And recently, 24th scale rock crawlers have come onto the market that are really decent. And 24 scale is just small enough, like not that big, that you can play with them indoors, and you can play with them in yards without giant rocks in them. So I picked up one of those and I've been modding it, upgrading it, painting it. All right, I think what I'm going to do now, before I go much further, is I'm going to glue down these tracks here, just so I get them in place and I have them exactly where I want them, so that when I go lay flex track around it, I know that this is solid in its place and ready to go. And I'm also going to, at this point, start working on dropping down feeder lines to everything else here that I've got kind of laid out already. So let's get the glue out. Let's get messy. Let's get messy now. All right. So for glue, I am using Alex Plus. Alex Plus Clear Silicone. I got turned on to this from, I think, probably other YouTubers. Maybe it was in Monterey magazine. And if you saw me talk about it last week, we'll talk about it again. I like it. I've used, up to this point, I've used white glue in the past for laying down track, which works excellent as well. This is a little harder to get started with, but the results are better, I think. I think it's a more solid connection. It comes up a little bit easier too if you need to make corrections, which I've had to do a couple of times. And it's a little bit flexible, which I think helps. I think it helps. A little bit flexible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down glue. And pack everything down. The boy is awake. So hopefully he stays quiet. All right. We will glue this stuff down. I'm excited every time I get a little more track work done. Every time I get just a little. Okay. So I'm just putting a little bit of a bead down, don't need a ton. It does a pretty good job holding just a little bit. Be careful on the points, areas of movement. So I'm just going to lay that bead down. Come back in here. Just going to spread it out. You don't need a lot. For sure, you don't need a lot. Especially around moving points and turnouts. You want to have so little that it doesn't stick. But you want to have so much that it squeezes out between the rails and kind of gets in the way when you're trying to balance. Make it pretty. Now it does kind of like dry and contract. So it is a little thicker in places. I'm just going down. Will contract itself, like I said. And, so the valves will be an issue. If you have to get in there with an X-Acto blade and take out some glue, the valves, you see like, oh, it's got a little thick in one area. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? Okay. I'm glad I remembered to cut everything before I laid on the glue. Sometimes I forget to trim rails before I go to the glue and get everything together. Then hurry, flip everything. Get that in the last live stream. Okay, there we go. Don't bother leaving expansion gaps between turnouts. Those guys don't really move. But the flex track, the longer pieces of flex track, could tend to wander a little bit. So it's nice to leave a little bit of an expansion gap there. What the hell am I doing? Wrong one. Wrong diversion point. Yes, it's good to have a little bit of an expansion between flex track and turnouts and flex track and other pieces of flex track. Not necessary between turnouts. I like to kind of keep those as tight as I can, just so that it's not clicky clacking over. Get the turnout. Now flex track, I want to make sure that I'm using kind of straight pieces of flex, as straight as possible. Because with microengineering track, it doesn't hold its shape. I'm sorry, it does hold its shape. It doesn't. It's not like an Atlas track where it's kind of, it tries to stay straight. Hello, Donald. It does hold its shape, and so like if you've got straight track that's a little kinked, it does show up. Which this is an older yard I'm modeling here, so that's fine if it's a little, if you sight down the rails and the rails are a little kinked. I want to be as straight as possible. So one thing about microengineering track I do not like is trying to lay straight track, flex track, microengineering flex track. It's difficult to get to look straight. It's maybe the most difficult thing I've experienced with this. A little bit of expansion gap. You don't need a ton of expansion gaps, or a ton of space in your expansion gaps if you've got a fairly well-controlled basement, climate controlled basement. If you experience a lot of heat changes, like if you are in a garage, like it's hot in the summer, cold in the winter, you're gonna have problems with expansion gaps. You're in an unheated basement, where you are kind of bringing in space heaters in the winter, you might have some problems. My basement tends to stay about the same temperature year round. A little colder in the winter. But what that means is I don't need quite, you don't need to worry about the track flexing so much. What can make track flex is the actual wood itself flexing, which occurs with humidity changes. So now is the point where we're going to go ahead. Why is that way off? That's good. Dry time on this is pretty slow, so plenty of opportunity to Fix your mistakes. Making a few as we go here. Yep. Close. Close enough there. Yep. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. A little twisty. Sorry about that. Just trying to choose a line that is as nice as possible. I always do the eyeball check. um, because rulers say one thing, but eyeballs say another. My eyeballs tell me it's pretty good. 2.5 inch, 2.5 inch minimum spacing between tracks. I think if I was doing it again, I would go 2.5 inches instead of 2.25. I think 2.25 looks great in yards, in passing sightings. But when you get on the curves, unless you have really wide curves, 2.25 could be an issue. So I don't know if you must have been here earlier. If you were here earlier and you heard, I'm using 2.25, which is fine for everything that I'm running. I've got a couple of areas where I've got double track mainline-ish. Mainline runs basically around this curve here. And I have clearance for everything that I own. It's tight, but it clears. The one thing that I don't think would clear very well or safe enough for me to be happy with it would be auto racks, which I like auto racks quite a bit. So that means I'm not going to be able to run auto racks on my map, which stinks. But not the end of the world. All right. I think that this is okay. A couple spots where they made blue. The longest cars are 73-foot center beams. So those are the cars that I'm kind of using as my guide. And I can get center beams around each other on my curves. I have wider-ish curves. The narrowest curves are 30 inches. So over on my main line, it's 30 and 32.25 is my radius. So they're wider-ish. So things will get around each other for sure. All right, one last measurement before I call it good. We're good. Start laying down track. 2.5 is really solid. I think John Armstrong recommended 2.5. And yeah, who might argue with John Armstrong? So I'm just going to lay down a few. These chairs as nice as I can. So. This glue does a good job of holding track, and then when you go back and you ballast, and then you sort of complete it. Some good ballasting. The track doesn't want to go anywhere at that point. Okay. So I put tacks kind of along the way, just so I can kind of get everything down, secure. Through here. We are good. Excited to get this yard finally starting to get laid down. One of my favorite things in railroading is yards. I like building trains, and I like moving cars around, and like the variety of cars you see in the yard. Like the challenge of finding a place for everything. Fun stuff. So I wanted a yard on my way up. Not a big one. It still operates like a yard should. And I put a lot of tacks down around turnouts, especially because they you want those to be as solid as they can possibly be. I don't want those to move. And once I put these down, I have them. I have them tacked down for about 6 to 8 hours. And then I take the tacks out and I make sure that everything's kind of lined up still and looking good. And if I need to make any changes at that point, I can. But after about 6 or 8 hours, it's not going to come up. Okay, this is pretty good. Alright, that's looking pretty good. While that's drying, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to run feeder wire to all these tracks that I have not run feeders to yet. What I want to do, clear off the space a little bit. Because I'm in this situation where I'm in a yard, I have a lot of turnouts. I have a lot of small little bits of track and that kind of thing. I'm kind of in a position where I'm going to have a lot of feeder wire kind of going down into the bottom of bench work. Which means I would have normally a lot of connections to my bus line. What does that mean? Let's take a look. All right. Here's my bus line. Actually, I have two buses coming along here. Let's see what's going on. All right, two buses. So I've got this far bus here. This is my main line for the Union Pacific. This bus here will be my bus line for the yard itself. I'm using these, I can't remember what these are called. These are light suitcase connectors, if you're familiar with those. They kind of clamp in the middle and build themselves into the protective plastic and creates a connection. I'll show you in a little bit better detail here in a second, but they're really great. I like them. There is a possibility that you might run into problems with the connections failing. And so I'll put 10 over 3 just have you back connections. So like I want to minimize the amount of these coming into my bus line as much as possible, so that there's just a minimum amount of issues that could occur at this point. This is one of the weakest points of the wiring on my layout. One way to fix it would be to just solder everything into your bus line. I hate soldering. I especially hate soldering upside down. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not a great solderer anyway. So I think for me personally, I might even run into more problems should I solder than if I use those connections. But how do we do that? How do we minimize the amount of connections going into our bus line when we have a lot of track? This bus line has to serve 3 tracks, a bunch of switches, little short sections of track as well. How do we minimize what's going into there? We are going to use of course I can't find it. Here we go. Terminal strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one line going from the bus line into the terminal strip, and then the rest of these will be feeders off of here that I can then run to my yard tracks. So that minimizes the amount of these connections that occur between the bus and the thing. These are called spade disconnector kits. Spade connectors, I think is what they're called. I like them. I think that they work very well. What I like about them is you can disconnect them very easily. So if you need to make adjustments or changes, you're not like breaking the integrity of the connection in order to swap out a new connection. I like it because I can use very thin wire for my connection to my layout and very thick wire running on the bus line. And that's something that suitcase connectors have a little bit of an issue with. The wire has to be a little bit closer to gauge with each other for it to work properly. I have a little more flexibility this way. We'll take a little more better look at it. But I need to determine how many connections I need to make kind of in this area here into one terminal. So let's do some counting, shall we? Let's see here. This isn't wired. I'll let that go straight into the bus. Let's start here with the stuff that will go into the terminal itself. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say 8 into one terminal. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. So I'm going to use one terminal per. Let me make sure I got this right. I think this is right. I'm going to use one terminal per wire. So my black will have one terminal, all my red will have one terminal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to decide. Let's put the yard on one terminal. These turnouts on one terminal. The bar turnouts on one terminal. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish. Three, 4, 5. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these turnouts on one of these terminal strips, both red and black. Because there's 10 here. And then that means I can use a little more flexibility. Yeah, let's do that. So what I'm going to do is kind of basically split this into red and black, half and half on there. That gives me more space because I'm going to also do I may need to put in frog juicers into here. So there needs to be some space underneath the layout for all this kind of stuff. All right, cool. So I need to put together some terminal strips before I can really get going on that, and then all of that. So I think we're going to call it now for this live stream today because it's going to be boring watching me put together terminal strips. I'm going to do that with the cameras off, I think. I don't think you need to see that. So I'm going to take care of those. I'll probably end up putting that in a monthly update so you can see what I did wiring-wise in that. So we'll take a look at that at that point. I think next week we'll probably just keep continuing working on the art. Seeing how far we can get on this bad boy. Cool. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I'm going to keep doing these once a week. They help me kind of just keep interested and keep going and keep doing what I need to do to get this layout in a good spot. So appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for doing so. Yeah, we'll call this one good. I will see everyone next week.